Welcome to Pouse around the house and part 29 in my series of loft conversion videos. Today I'm going to be taking some pipe work from this boiler behind me here and getting it up in the loft to provide heat into my new radiator, and we'll be getting an electrical cable from the light above me in this room here up into the loft to provide the main feed for the new lights in the loft. As part of this video I'll show you how I drain down the central heating system, how I connect into the pipework and physically get the new pipework up into the loft, and I'll show you how I physically get the cable from this light up into the loft and connect it into my new connector blocks. So it's a bit of a long one today, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. I'm going to do a bit of pipe work now from the boiler, which is inside this cupboard, and try and get those up to the radiator, or where I want the radiator to be, up in the loft. Now unfortunately, to do this I've got to move this cupboard out of the way in this bedroom. I'm going to remove it, I've got better access then, and then I'll see what we're going to do. Now if you look up in the top there, I'm pretty much going to have to run some trunking diagonally up the roof there, because you can see in this bedroom the ceiling's slightly vaulted, so that's actually the shape of the rafters there, then it flattens out at the top. So I'm going to have to run that up there, and then the pipe will go straight into the ceiling, into this void, and then as I showed you previously in the video, that will pop straight into the loft underneath that ridge board from this section of roof that I showed you down in the cupboard space. So what I got to do, we got this filter down here, this is one of these magnetic filters, and this is on the return flow. So this flow is the one out, this is the return, so I've got to do the radiator on this side of the filter. So I've got two options. I can either just try and break into here somewhere, be a bit scruffy then, because I'll either have to go up there and around the boiler, or I'll have to come out around this pipe work, and obviously I could do the same with this one here. But what I'm actually thinking is, remove the cupboard, I'm going to try and rip the carpet up down the bottom and break into it in the floor. So if I can get the pipe work, if it goes over that way, which I think it does from memory, then it means I might be able to tap in with a T-piece, solder a few pieces in, and we'll just go straight up that wall then neatly right in the corner. So we'll see how we go now. So just to fill you in, I've just taken the cupboard back, I've lifted the carpet up, I've just cut through some floorboard, and I've gone underneath to have a look. It's not quite how I remembered it, so basically there's a joist that's going to be in my way, and for the hassle of doing that, it's going to take me a couple of hours probably to do it all neatly. So because it's behind the cupboard, and I'm not really too bothered about how the pipework looks, I'm going to do what some of you might regard as a slight botch job. I'm going to have to overlap some of the other pipes at 90 degrees, and that way it's going to make it so much quicker for me. I can break in with a T-piece, join the two and go straight up the wall. Right, show you quickly what I was doing. We got one clip on the ceiling, one there. I may well put one in the middle actually, looking at that. One there, I've kept that loose, because these you can actually screw tight once the pipe works in, because they're either side of the screw, so that's handy. As you go down the side of the boiler, one there, and then I'll add one in there later when I see what shape I'm doing down there with the pipe work. But my idea is just to use one length of pipe from down there. So once I've teed in, I'm just going to use the coil of the speed fit pipe, and that's just going to go up around the side in one swoop up there, bend up and through there, and that way I've got no joints anywhere. The only joint I'm going to have is meeting this. So if in the unlikely or unfortunate eventuality I have a leak while it's exposed, I can always remove the cupboard or do it through the back of the cupboard. But other than that, everything's solid right the way up into the loft. Now the next thing for me to do is just put a little hole in the ceiling, just at the top there. I've just got this. I like to use this piece of plastic. It's something I've had lying around for years. It's just the top of a little bit of electrical trunking, but it's very flexible. So what I'll do is poke that up through the hole, see if I can get it through into the loft so I can see it first, and then if I can see it, I'm going to stick some tape on the end and then drag all the pipe work up. So this is the pipe work, the JG Speed Fit. It's 15mm. You could go through with a micro bore or the 10mm pipe, but I'm quite happy to use this. It'll probably get the water up there a bit quicker anyway. And luckily this is a roll I had left actually from when I renovated the house, so I'm hoping that I've got enough here. I'm going to trial it first. If I can get it in place with plenty to spare, great. If not, it's going to be a trip to screw fix. That seems pretty good. If I can leave that there, it's quite a bit went through then. I'm going to pop up in the loft and take a look now. Here's my landing. You get a rough idea here where the stairs will go, because I got this nice little landing section. They're basically going to go up that way, up towards the wall and back, and then they're going to go diagonally up there, straight into the tallest bit of the loft, right underneath the ridge. See by there now, I managed to just get down there and grab that plastic pipe. I had to go back downstairs, wiggle it round a bit. Once I got my hand in, I had to get right down here. You can see I've got all muck all over me now. Dragged it to there. I'm going to go and tape the plastic JG speed fit to the end of this now, and try and drag it on through. So I'll get one length up here, cut that down to the rough size, and then I'm going to go back through what's left and see if it's long enough. If you're ever going to do this, just remember to either leave the cap on the end of the pipe, although that's prone to falling off. So what I've done is put this tape right over the front of the pipe, because if you drag it through and you get all debris in it, it's going to be stuck in the pipe. Now you can flush that through after, but it's just, you know, it's worth covering it up, because why bother filling it with crap if you don't have to. Right, now I'm going to push this through myself. I might be able to go up in the loft and pull that through, so let's go and have a look. And voila! Here it is. I don't know if you can see that, my speed fit pipe. Unfortunately, the bit of tape I put over the end I just told you about has actually pulled off. It's just by there, but I think that happened as it came out anyway, so I'm not too worried. So I'm happy with that. I've got to go down now and try and get the other one through. That was one of the most annoying jobs going. The first one you just saw took probably about 10 minutes to get it through, and this one's just taken me almost an hour. I managed to stick my hand straight over a load of screws that was sticking out, so that's bleeding. And I've only just managed to get that piece of plastic through, so now I've got to tape it up and see if I can pull the pipe through. You can see now I've got the two pipes, this one's still attached to the end of that. But I'm going to go down now, just cut them off at the length I want it, so I don't waste any up here. And then hopefully I'm going to find out they reach, because these two pipes at the moment are still connected at the other end in a big loop. I thought rather than cut it, why not pull them both through in one end, cut it in the middle, and hopefully I've got two lengths of pipe that are both long enough. You can see I've just clipped those in now, and by using these type of clips it means I can put the pipes in and clip them over after, which is great for what I'm doing. Then I'm going to put that cap in on you saw earlier, but if we go down the side, you can see I run it down there, right? When we get to the bottom, I've still got this one length of pipe in a loop because I didn't know how much I was going to need, and look at that, that is perfect. So I can basically snip this by here. I've got two equal lengths of pipe, but I'll do more than enough down here, so it gives me a bit to play with. So that's perfect for a bit of leftover pipe, or otherwise I was going to have to go out and buy another 25 metres of the stuff for the sake of needing an extra metre or two. So I'm pleased with that. I've clipped all those pipes into the joist there. It's not the neatest job in the world down there, but they're nice and solid, not going anywhere. I've brought them up then using copper, just because it's a bit more rigid. I'm still using the speed fit joints, and I've just put these compression fittings on because I'm not ready to do the radiator and that yet. So by using these valves, I'm going to lock the valves, and then when I go down and drain the system off, do all the other fittings and then repressurize it, with this locked off, it means I can test it all for leaks without having the radiator on. Then what I'll do with this, when I plasterboard it over or whatever I do, I'll probably leave a gap in the back so I've got access through the cupboard, and these valves will just remain open. And obviously that probably looks a bit wonky. There's a bit of play down there because I've tacked them on about 20-30 centimetres back, so it allows this to move around. Then obviously when this is connected in here rigid through this wood, it's not going to move then, but I wanted a bit of play there, so it just allows me to put it into position at 90 degrees, and then I can run my copper that way and that way, and basically do an elbow, and it can push through the front of the wall so it look nice and neat. I'll just have them coming straight out into the back of the radiator then, so you won't have any pipes coming up out of the floor. And also by doing it here and not from behind, it means it's not going to intrude in my cupboard space, so there's no risk of me whacking that with storage inside. And one thing we mustn't forget to do, of course, is just make sure that these valves are turned off. The last thing we want to do is forget about that, turn it on and have a massive leak in the ceiling. So the next thing for me to do is go downstairs and drain the central heating system. I've got to do that to get all the water out, or otherwise when I cut the pipe I'm going to have water everywhere. So by here I've just got a length of hose pipe, and I've actually had a spare outside for ages, so I've just cut that to length and we'll drain the water down now. So you just pop that on the end. Now if you're doing this yourself, you just need to find the downstairs radiator that's got a valve on it. Now when I had the heating system done, I had put on a few of the radiators, so you've got a few options front and back of the house, but quite often on an older system you'll only find one of these valves. So push your hose on there nice and tight, make sure the other end of your hose is outside, and then we'll undo the little nut on the end. The water will start releasing, and then we'll go upstairs and loosen some of the bleed valves on the radiators. That lets the air in and allows the water out. I'm just going to loosen this nut now. There we go. Like I said, I'll have to go and release some of the bleed valves upstairs to start, and then I'll probably do a few of them downstairs just to drain the system. Because it's a couple of years since I had this done, I'm probably going to empty the whole system. If I get a chance in, because it's about 4:30 at the moment on a Friday, I'm going to probably nip down the screw fix and go and get some inhibitor. It's always worth putting some inhibitor back in when you fill the system back up then. So I'm talking about the bleed valves, I'm just on about these here. If you undo the bleed valve there, it lets the air in and the water drain out. So I've just been and done all the radiators upstairs. When that gets down to the sort of downstairs level, it starts to slow off, I can then start to undo these as well. And all you do with this is either use a bleed key around there, or more modern radiators, you'll have a little place for a screwdriver, a little slot. And just do that. Turn it anti-clockwise. Can you hear that? That's just letting all the air in now. It's making that water flow through that pipe a bit quicker. Luckily for me, my better half has taken my daughter away with her family to Butlins for the weekend. So I got the whole weekend to do a few bits here with no one in the house, so I can make as much mess as I like. Like this, I'm draining it down so you can hear gargling now. It's only me here without the heating on. Hopefully nothing will go wrong, but obviously if I come into problems, I've not got the whole family here freezing tonight. This is the tricky bit now. I'm going to try and cut this, and I might have to undo it from the boiler first. You can see what I've done here. I told you it doesn't look perfect. I didn't really want to cross these pipes here, but it's behind the cupboard so I don't care. And all I've done is use this 22mm reducer into 15mm, one there. I've done one there. That's my flow, that's my return. It returns in and goes back through that filter. That's why it's important to get it on that side of the filter, so that before everything goes back to the boiler, it goes through this magnetic filter which just takes out some of the particles and debris. Got those clips there. If you look at the side of the boiler, I've still got to push those clips in there. It just goes right the way up then, up to the top. I've just got to put that Talon cover now over there, and then I'm going to go down and repressurize the boiler and hope that I don't have any leaks. I was just stood here and I thought, do you know what, I can start to repressurize the boiler. Two things. One, I hadn't been round and done up the bleed valve, so luckily I just remembered that, so I've just been round and tightened them all up. If I didn't, once it got full, I would have had water squirting out of 5 radiators upstairs. That would have been good fun. And also, I haven't put my inhibitor in yet, so I'm going to go and do that now, and I'm going to do it through the towel radiator, because with that it's a lot easier. It's up high. You can take the whole valve off the top, just pour it straight into the radiator. And the other thing to remember as well, I've done it already, is downstairs lock off the valve where I bled the whole system down or drained it down, you've got to tighten that back up again, or otherwise water's just going to pump out of that back into the outside if you've still got your hose attached. If you're taking the hose off and it's still open, it's just going to go all over your floor. This is what I was talking about with the inhibitor. If you've got a towel rail like this, you can whip the valve off the top and just pour it straight in, put the valve back over the top, and then once it's tight, we can go and pressurise the system, and then it's in there then, it'll flow around. I literally just bought this now, it's 20 to 7, so I thought I'd better pop the screw fix before it closes. I don't want to get carried away and then find I can't get any, and it means I can't finish till tomorrow. So I'm going to strike while the iron's hot, and I'm going to try and make a little hole in this somehow. All done. Right, let's go and repressurise the boiler. Now we're going to turn it on. E119 error on there is coming up. That just means it needs repressurising, the pressure's too low. So, that's what I'm going to do now, and I've shown this in another video actually on the internet or on YouTube of how to repressurise a boiler, but I'll show you again quickly now. So you got your error code there, E119. If you look there, that's your pressure gauge. We're down in the red there on the 0, and we want to get it ideally somewhere in this large green section. Anywhere in the green is okay. The way we do this is by opening a few valves underneath the mains pressure water, and that allows the water into the system, which is a closed system, and then you close the valves back off. Okay, so on this boiler we got a Baxi Duotech. These two blue buttons here, they're both in the closed position now, so you basically need to open one, then open the other. When we do this, I think it's a half a turn. So if I open that one up, half a turn. I open that one up, half a turn. Right, that one's stuck. There we go. And down here, obviously what I'm checking is this and my other one down here. Now at the moment it's not really going to be doing anything because I've got to fill the system up first. So until the pressure's at 1 bar or more, then you don't really know. And then also with these pipes, you've really got to release the valves I put in upstairs, and that draws the water up to them. And that'll get water in this bit under pressure, so then you can really see if these are working. Going back up, can you see now? That valve is almost in the green there. That noise you can hear there, that's just my my thermostat trying to work over there, the receiver box. Now it's either because it's a little bit wet, because I got it wet earlier, so I'm hoping that hasn't damaged it, or it's the fact it's not on at the moment properly because the boiler won't work, see, so it's receiving a signal but it's not actually doing anything. So please excuse that noise. So what I'm going to do is take this right up beyond the top of the green, and then I'm going to go and start bleeding the radiators, because when you bleed the radiators obviously the pressure reduces slightly, then you need to come back up and increase the pressure again and repeat that process until all your radiators are full, there's no more air in them, and you've got this somewhere in that green section. So finally, after messing about for about an hour, I finally got it done. So there we go, that looks like my gas light has come on now to show that it's heating the water up, so I'm happy with that, because at least I can get the house warm now, and I know I can put all this back. I've checked for leaks as well, I've undone the valves in the loft, I brought all the water through, sprayed it onto a tissue, so I know that that's pressurised. I know around here now, all these joints, there's no leaks, everything seems to be good, so I'm quite happy with that. I got a bit worried then, I thought I had a leak, but no, it's just cold. So there's the trunking that I put over the pipework, slight gap there, I cut the ceiling slightly too wide, but anyway I can put a little bit of filler in that and sand it back, no problem, but that's something for another day. And then down here you can see that pipework disappears around the back, and then right down the bottom there it just pops out there, and the other bit's hidden down there. Right, we're back again, it's the next morning. I know what you're thinking, has he been wearing the same clothes 3 days on the trot? Well, the answer is yes, although I do change my pants and socks, but it just stays on the washing. So today we're in the same room that we were in yesterday doing the plumbing, and I've got to remove this light fitting, get that plastic feed up there again. I'm going to try and tape on a bit of cable and feed that through, and this is going to be my main feed to the lighting in the loft. And the reason I'm doing it from here is I know when I rewired the house, this is the last light in the circuit. So what we need to do is break into that for the feed and continue the radial circuit on. And before anyone says anything, as part of the building notice I put in, this is all going to be inspected and signed off by an electrician who's going to come round and inspect my work. Now you can get building control to do this for you for an extra fee. I think it was about an extra £220, something like that. I know the electrician, so he'll come out, he can visually inspect my work if he's happy, and then he'll come back and test it all at the end and sign it off, assuming that it's all done correctly. So just laid the sheet out on the floor, And this is the problem you've got when you're working inside the house. That's why I've tried to do so much of this loft conversion without even touching the stairs, because if I go and put the stairs in, open it all up, suddenly all that debris is coming into the landing, and obviously when you've got a family, they're traipsing it through. So I've done it the long-winded way, but I've done it the way you have to do it when you're living in the house with a family. So you see there now, it's just two cables coming in. That's because you've got your loop in, or your feed coming to the light, and the other cable is going back to the switch. Now when I did this, if you have a look on it, I would have written the names on this, because it's always handy, because if you pull it back out and you forget, you can see straight away which one's which. Pretty obvious on this anyway, because you can see which one's the switch live, and I've labelled it all up with the proper colour code in there. But so now, when I add this extra feed, that'll be your third cable. Now I'm just going to try and feed this plastic through, but I don't think it's going to go. Unfortunately, I think I need something smaller. Yeah, okay, let's go and find something else. Right, after a bit of faffing, I in the end used some of the 15mm plastic pipe I had left over. Got it up, it was just about long enough, and then I had to put a piece of batting in this way, line it up over the existing cable that's coming in, because that's what gave me the alignment to this light. And then when the pipe was sticking up into the rafter, I was able to bend it down, hold it in place, I had to gently feed it so it hit into the batten and stayed low, because what was happening, it keeps sticking up into the rafters because of the angle. And I've chipped a bit of that away, but I don't want to cut any more away, because otherwise I end up making a big gaping hole to get the angle right. So anyway, moment of truth. Let's pull this pipe out through. I've got to be careful, because although I've taped it on, they do sometimes catch. This is always the nervous bit here. Give it a nudge, there we go. A little bit of gentle persuasion and we'll be back. There we go. Anyway, there's the cable, so that's worked. And then I think is what I'm actually going to do is connect the light up, and then the other end of the cable will obviously be live. So is what I'm going to do is isolate it into some Wago connectors. I'll put them in like a Wago box, and I'm just going to screw that to the wall up there and label it up to say live in case I forget. And it means then I've got that feed there, I only have to knock the power off then, and then I can start connecting lights up there and actually using the lights sometime soon, rather than having lamps and stuff if it's dark up there, because obviously I'm going to start doing some work in the evening soon. All the indoor work and the electrical work's fairly quiet, so I can probably do that late at night if I have to. So we're back up in the loft, and hopefully this makes sense. It's the pipe work we put in yesterday, and basically this cable's taken the same route, but instead of cutting down to this end of the wall of that bedroom, it's going right out to the middle to that light fitting. Now for now the cables are obviously loose in the floor. I'll tack all those up at a later date, but for now I just want to get the feeds in, then I can tidy them up. So all I'm using here is the Wago box junction box. Now I find these really good, they're useful with the Wago connectors. Not perfect for every application, but they're very good for temporary works as well, the connectors. If you want to isolate something temporarily and unclip them, you know, it's nothing too permanent. Because what I'm going to do is basically run a row of these across the wall here, and then my feed is going to come in the bottom, out, and in the next one, in the same way that you would do lots of ceiling roses. If you imagine this is the equivalent of an old-fashioned ceiling rose, your junction box, one there, one there, one there, so the feed from one light into the other, into the other. I've got these which I've already run in, that's the feed to all the actual lights, just one cable into one light, and with the spotlights then you just daisy chain them to the end, a radial circuit, so not a ring, just in, out, in, out. And then from the bottom it's going to go down into the ground, and that's going to go over there to my switches. Now all the switches are obviously going to be pretty much as you come in the door, and one for the landing. I've got to do a two-way switch for the landing, and I've got to try and get a switching downstairs on my existing landing, so you can turn it on and off from the top and the bottom of the stairs. So it's all I do, you just knock a little hole out the bottom of these there. They're like a covered up hole, but they're ready to go if you want to screw them into the wall. And then I'm just going to screw these into place now. I think I'm going to have to do this with a manual screwdriver. Then I'll just use these Wago 222 connectors just to isolate it for now. And when you use these connectors, don't forget that, you know, they're literally connector blocks. You don't put them all in one block. You use one for live, one for neutral, one for earth. So I've just used these because they were the first ones to hand. I have got the smaller ones in the box there, but this will do for now. So now all I've done is put that wire in there. I've labelled it up saying it's the main feed from the back bedroom, so I know that's the first feed into the loft, and then from there I'm just going to feed, do the main feed or the loop in from there to there, from there to there, etc. What's nice with these, you've got these little slots for the connectors, so you push your connector blocks in there, and then all that is closed off, and that's all isolated then. It also means that this grip here means that if you were to pull this cable in the floor somewhere, it puts the pressure there, not on the terminals itself. So it's a handy piece of kit, but I can close that up for now anyway, like that. So I know now that I've got this, so if I turn that live now, it's going to be nicely isolated and safe in there. And it means then I can put the light fitting back on downstairs, so there's not a cable hanging down in my daughter's bedroom. So that's it for today's video. If you're interested in any of the tools or the products used in this video, I'll put links to those below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for regular notifications. I've been Pouse around the house. Ta-ta, farewell.